I am loving this college football season. How about you? It has been so exciting to watch team after team. I don't even care which team is playing because it is so fun to watch. But today we are going to make another game day food that you can make at home. Super easy. You can use it as an appetizer or as an entree. And so we are going to get started with homemade stromboli. Now, I know when people think of making your own dough, there's a lot of hesitation, but this is super, super easy. So don't be intimidated by that. Come along, let's make it together. So the biggest fear I think most people have about making their own dough is getting the yeast in the right consistency so it will actually rise. This is something that I learned during COVID. I learned how to make my own pizza dough and my own bread. And the secret is making sure that your yeast is not expired and making sure that your water temperature is correct. So if you have like a candy thermometer or even a meat thermometer, that's really gonna help you, and that's gonna make you very, very successful in making this dough. Now, this makes two recipes. You can make it ahead, you could freeze some, you can do a lot of things with it, but let's get the water started. I'm gonna put it in my little tea kettle back here to get it start warming, because the water coming out from the tap doesn't get quite hot enough. And so we're gonna get this started, and then we'll get the other ingredients in my mixing bowl. Now, you do not need to have a stand mixer. If you don't have one, you could do this by hand with a spoon, wooden spoon, whatever. But I'm gonna make it a lot easier on myself by having this stand mixer because it has a dough hook in there. So we're needing 1 1/3 cups of hot water between 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. There is that cup. And this measuring cup doesn't have a third really clearly marked, so I'm going to use a stand-free measuring cup to add that water. Now, in using my thermometer, we're going to see how hot this gets. As you can see, it's way too hot, so we're gonna let this sit until it gets down to about 100 to 110 degrees, and we're gonna add the remaining ingredients in the bowl. So we need 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm gonna use my rosemary salt because I think that would add a little extra depth of flavor to the stromboli. So we'll add a teaspoon. Let me get a clean teaspoon over here. Okay, it's time to take the towel off, and I'm going to bring you a little closer. I want you to see what it should look like. Do you see how it's bubbling down here? That's what you want. You want that bubble. That will let you know that this is a good yeast for you to begin adding the next step, which is the flour. So let's start doing that. So some recipes will tell you to hold off the olive oil and the salt, but I've done this for quite some time and it really hasn't affected the dough. It just speeds up the process. So I am going to begin allowing this to churn and slowly adding the flour. So you could take this out and knead it on a floured surface, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to knead it for another 5 minutes on low. We want the dough to stick to itself. Now, I like to use a glass bowl for this next step. just because I've had the most success with it. Now you could take olive oil and you could coat the inside of this, but I just use extra virgin olive oil spray, making sure I coat all the sides really well. And again, you want it sticking to itself. And I'm just going to kind of swirl it around so it has oil on all sides. All right, now we are ready to, I like to put plastic wrap on it. You could just use a towel or aluminum foil, but again, this is what I found has worked the best for me. And make sure it's sealed really well. This is also a good test. If you push down and it bounces back up, then you know that your dough is good. Again, this was really scary for me initially, but once I made sure my yeast was not expired and I got that water temperature down, that has really helped me be more proficient in making bread as well as pizza dough, stromboli, all of the good stuff. Now I'm gonna get a clean towel and I am going to put it over just as an extra measure of safety because we keep our house very cold to help with our allergies. So I'm gonna go take this outside and let it proof for about 60 minutes, maybe 90 minutes until it's doubled in size. Brought it in from outside for an hour and a half. And it has indeed doubled in size. So what we're going to do is we're gonna punch it down with our fist to release the air. Do it right in the center. And then I'm gonna lightly flour my baking service or my rollout service here. So just take a little bit of flour. And then I always like to put a little bit in the reserve in case I need a little bit on top when I'm using my roller pin. That way I'm not having to put a spoon or my hands back in the flour. So we are gonna dump this out. And I put a little flour on top, and I'm actually going to roll it into a ball. And then I'm going to divide it in half. This will give you your 2 strombolis. If you only need one, you can always freeze this part of it, but we're gonna work with this one first. And we are going to roll this out into like a rectangle shape, about 10 by 18 inches. All right, now we're gonna do parsley, and if you use fresh parsley, you'll do 2 teaspoons of the chopped. I don't have fresh parsley, but I dehydrated some parsley from my garden, so we're gonna do about 1 teaspoon of it, so about a half a teaspoon for each stromboli. It's a little bit much. So I'm just kind of guesstimating, and I'm just kind of lightly putting this over. I'm excited to be using some of my fresh herbs from my garden this year. Very nice. Now the green specks that you saw in the dough prior to me putting the parsley on was that rosemary salt that I made. I will link that video down below. It's very easy to make, and I've been using it on my fish, and now I'm using it in my pizza dough and my Stromboli dough, so that will add an extra layer of flavor. Now it's time to put our meat and cheeses in it. So you're gonna leave 3 inches at the top where we're not gonna put the meat, and 1 inch at the bottom, and 1 inch on each side. So we're gonna start laying that. I'm gonna start with the large pepperoni slices. And I'm just leaving an inch and then making sure that it's 3 inches. Great about this mat, it already has everything measured for you, so you're not having to second guess anything. So I'm gonna put a layer of this large pepperoni down. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of mark where the bottom is, so that will be easier for me to follow along. If you don't have the large pepperoni, I have used the smaller pepperoni. It's just that sometimes it doesn't cut as well after you bake it. I've also used ground beef. So you could use deli slices of cheese and whatever you want. I got this mozzarella and provolone that is mixed together, and so I'm going to put a layer of this cheese on it. But you can definitely do the deli slices if you prefer that. Now I'm going to continue with placing some deli sliced ham on top of it. Again, you could use whatever meat you would like. And I got this very thinly sliced. I guess that's 1 piece. I felt like it was maybe more than 1. Add some more cheese. So basically I continued layering I have a half a pound of pepperoni and half a pound of ham, and then I put in the layers of the cheese. Now you could do an all vegetable one. You can do multiple types of toppings, but now we're going to roll it to make it 16 inches long. So we're going to begin on this side, and we're going just to roll it up into a log. This is what it should look like after you've rolled it up and the sides are up. And then you want to make sure that you've cut at least 3 to 4 slits in it to make sure that it vents properly and everything cooks very well. So I'm going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. And then I am just taking some store-bought marinara and going to be heating that up. That'll be like a dipping sauce for the Stromboli. So I put the whole jar in it because I'm not sure how much each person would like to have. So I'd rather have more than not enough. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.